protections of what I'm saying listed in the statute, and we know how to perform it in contract. You know what that means? That means we have a demand now, a supply, that is in demand, and that we can produce more demand. And we can produce it, check it out, across demographics. Because we control the jurist program that certifies how we can decide. This one technique I'm mentioning, I'm about to mention some others, but this one technique, I want you to understand this. This one technique I'm mentioning that can be disseminated amongst us and dealt with responsibly when it's disseminated, but disseminated amongst us can be something that we can bleed across other demographics because they're going to need it because they're in problems too. All these other groups of people who you see doing business, don't think that they're not having tax issues, all types of other problems. So as we learn to solve our problems, we become a resource, not only to ourselves first, all right? Remember, I said run the other way on the track. We become a resource to ourselves first. All these taxing agencies that are parasiting off of our people, we become a practical resource to remove those encumbrances. And so let's say we do that for 2 generations. Now we got 2 generations of people who have saved their resources that have not adversely been impacted by these entities. Meanwhile, all the other people are still being done. So if we decided to extend the service after 2 generations, after getting our head start, now we at the front of the race. Because you have to understand that as long as you in the United States Gate C, Gate D. Gate A says all people came out of Africa, right? Check this out. So that means Gate D automatically precludes that African Americans are not indigenous to the Americas. You don't even have to say it. You follow me? And so now, whoever created that propaganda, 2 other eugenicists, what's his name? What's the guy who created out of Africa theory? Come on now.
Out of Africa theory?
Yeah. Charles Darwin. Charles Darwin. All right. Now who is it? Say it. Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
He was a eugenist.
He created eugenics. So before it got to Nazi Germany, it was here with him and got to other people like Margaret Sanger. And Germany got the eugenics science from the genesis of it amongst the Darwinists in the Darwinist club. So eugenicist science that started in America, migrated to Germany and Austria, all right, where William Bernays was born in Austria, and then when he was born in Austria, he brought some of those things back. But there had already been 30 years of eugenics practice in America before Bernays was born. Because what I'm talking about with Bernays, with propaganda, is eugenics. That's the bottom line. It's eugenics for
Edward, right? You keep saying
Edward. I keep saying William. I don't want to call him William. You know what? If somebody associated with him named William, and I think I got to pull that name out. But Edward Bernays. So my point is that those 2 people started that theory. All right? Now, there was no African records, no Moorish records, no indigenous records are saying that we came from some creatures in Africa. And there's a lot of records in Africa. A lot of oral tradition that's still alive that actually says opposite. We don't have to get into all that. But my point is, if you go with the propaganda, you won't understand why you can come to America and see this. These are your people here. So what happens in the brain is, when the brain lodges information repetitively, right? If it does not, at its own will, open itself to deposit new information to replace it, you go through something, and you might have heard of this term, it's a very basic term in psychology, cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is cognition, when you get knowledge, and you automatically reject it because of what has been deposited repetitively inside of your mind. So all the textbooks that kept telling you Christopher Columbus discovered America, this is what the Native Americans look like. Christopher Columbus, 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade. By the time you get to 12th grade, and then you're 25 now, you hear Ali Muhammad, like, you get Ali Muhammad's crazy. That nigga don't even like Africa. You start creating. But look, that's not your thoughts. That's someone who gave you the thoughts. Your thoughts are taking all the data to come to a conclusion yourself. based on available information. Like, okay, that's this perception, that's this perception, that's which one? Okay, research and come to a conclusion.
I was going to say to, reinforce that idea about cognitive dissonance you mentioned. There was a Yoruba proverb that says, that which arrives first as the truth is accepted as the truth, even though real truth comes second.
Yes, exactly. It's accepted as the truth. All right. And another part of this is Bernays dealing with the timing of getting propaganda into people. The best timing is, of course, when there's people are children, when you're a child. The mind is accepting that first thing has to be the truth because I have confidence in the people who are around me. That's my mother. That's my teacher. They're not going to lie to me. You know what I mean? So now, those things are concretized. All right? Some of the information is going to come from the economic Bible. Now, I wanted to go over this second, but I'll go over it second because this gives actually, I got to go over it first. So now, I don't know if you can see this, but this is a resolution from the United Nations dealing with what? Basic principles, guidelines on right to a remedy and reparation for victims of gross violations of international human rights law and serious violations of international humanitarian law. I'm only showing this for two reasons. All right? One is for every community has leaders. You're not going to get around it. Political leaders, mayors, governors, sheriffs, parents are leaders, sometimes grassroots leaders of organizations, community. They exist. It's a natural phenomenon amongst people. Our leadership there's two things going on in it that's adverse. It's grossly ignorant of things that could help the greater body. Grossly ignorant. And two, suffering from severe cognitive dissonance.
Right.
In fear that new information is going to topple them. When you combine those two formulas, when I start reading off what I'm going to read off, you're going to understand a part of the problem in our community. And so now you getting access to this information is very basic. This is about what nation states, including the Security Council and all the other ones that are part of the United Nations, are contracted to do. And then the second part is, again, understanding our role in handling our own reparative measures. I'll say it like that. That's the way I say it. All right, so check this out. So this is about how you get reparations. Now, there's a brother named Mustafa Ansari. He's a big help with me because he's a domestic lawyer. He graduated from law school in California, whatever. But he came to our 2012 summit. I invited him here to talk about this because he was one of the first people to give me a good breast and education on reparative remedy, as a practice. And it was in a thesis setting, but he was giving me the information. What I did is like, okay, well, look, I'm going to go out and figure out how to use this in art. Since I don't see anybody using it, check this out, though. This has 28 clauses on how to go about these things. All right? Mm-hmm. And so, check out some of the things that are said about what is a violation of someone's human rights. That's important. And then what you're supposed to do as a group, a body politic, to support those people with reparative measures. And then what those people are supposed to do themselves. All right? So this is about confidence after you get the knowledge of what to do. Because a lot of times we're waiting on the big bill to get passed by Congress or the executive order or the municipal city council thing or the zoning law to get passed when there's a lot of things that we can do ourselves. You say, well, I'm not waiting on that. All right, then. You waiting on something? Otherwise, we will be acting. Compensation should be provided for any economically accessible damage as appropriate and proportional to the gravity of the violation and the circumstances of each case. Now, this is kind of far down into it, but they're going into if a nation state is violating its own constituents or another body of constituents, economically, these are the things that are supposed to happen. All right, resulting from gross violations of international human rights law and serious violations of international humanitarian law, such as physical or mental harm, Check this out. Lost opportunities, including employment, education, and social benefits. Material damages and loss of earnings. So that's an example of that. You go in, you put in your paperwork because you're part of an indigenous body politic. The Constitution says you can do it. The I-9 form says there's no discrimination. There should be any discrimination. You follow all the procedures, then your job says no, we're not accepting your tax exemption.
Mm-hmm.
We're not accepting it. It's okay, your job is ignorant. Cool, they don't know nothing about international law, domestic law. So now you go to court. You file a little complaint with the EEOC to move it into federal court. You go into federal court. So now it's the judge's responsibility in interfacing with you first to be notice of these things, and then you gotta read all 28 articles. All 28 articles are in the Economic Bible in this book. Because when you read it, you're gonna be like, oh my God, is this actually here? All right, and as I go, you'll understand why I'm saying that. Material damages and loss of earnings, including loss of earning potential. Moral damage. Costs required for legal or expert assistance. Medicine and medical services and psychological or social services. This is for people who have been injured, what the other party that has been found in injury to do is supposed to do. All right? And now, first of all, this is a case in Chicago where this happened this year, where I think it's over 100 families got this kind of reparations because the Chicago Police Department had brutalized members of their family because they were part of gangs and other things, gave them false sentences, whatever. So the lawyer that sued the city of Chicago there's no way I can stress the importance of this. He took what I'm reading to you and used it in courts here and got them $100,000 per family for injuries, lifetime rehabilitative services for the people who are still alive and their family members, wives and children, facilities that were built and are being built in Chicago right now that the title and deed will go to the families. All right? This is one of the brother who I mentioned, who was one of my teachers. This is one of the people that he trained. All right? And so what I'm saying to you is that there's some people who know. You see what I'm saying? There's not a whole bunch of lawyers, there are a whole bunch of lawyers out here who just don't know, but I'm saying that some of our people know. This is not just Ali Muhammad on YouTube talking about this. This is elders who were with Malcolm X, who went back to school, learned the measures, and then, have been trying to appropriate it and trying to communicate to other so-called leaders that these things are available, have been doing so for years and have been ignored. All right? So now you have this going on in your community. You have to give a lot of attention to the people who ignore it. Who cares about them? Nobody wants to, who cares? They are who they are. But the point is that we can now take these people who are experts and use them for honor. Because we plan on doing a suit next year. All right? We can use them for other groups of people who are concerned about body. And so this has something to do with business. I'm going to it, but I just got to get through it. Rehabilitation should include medical, psychological care, as well as legal and social services. Check it out. Satisfaction should include, where applicable, any of the following. Effective measures aimed at the cessation of continued violations. All right? Continued violations. Continued violations is Social Security, employment agencies, jobs, labor, the economic human rights, the physical human rights. Benjamin Crump was Trayvon Martin lawyer, now he was Michael Brown parents lawyer, now he, come on man, you got the same lawyer and he still hasn't done anything? Nothing. Listen, CNN had the special that showed the prosecutorial misconduct. They had the whole breakdown. He didn't do one federal suit to deal with the prosecutorial misconduct of any of these cases. All right, so that's my sidebar. Let me get back focused. All right. Verification of the facts and full and public disclosure of the truth to the extent that such disclosures does not cause further harm or threaten the safety and interests of the victim's relatives, witnesses, or persons who have intervened. What this article is saying, basically, when you violate people and they've been violated, the entities that violate them, they need to be shown as breaching. All right? Look, this is keep going down. Public apology. We can't even get that. This is an international mandate. Public apology, including acknowledgement of the facts and acceptance of responsibility, judicial and administrative sanctions against persons liable for the violations.
But didn't they do one of those though? Apologies to African Americans, so-called.
I didn't see it. I don't know.
Bill Clinton did it.
Bill Clinton, yeah.
But there was no remedy about it.
Okay, well, let me explain, because this goes further to tell what a public apology. Public apology is followed by statutory recordation of the public apology. You see what I'm saying? Which means, like, when the Japanese got their reparations,
Exactly.
there was a bill passed of apology for what happened in the concentration camps, reparative monies, and a memory in the books
Exactly.
to show. You see what I'm saying? So, I don't know, Bill Clinton might have been playing the saxophone.
He ain't do all that.
He might
He
have
just
do
said,
that.
I'm sorry, he
No, but
ain't do all
they
that.
do say that, what do the people talk about as far as the House Joint Resolution and all of that? It's supposed to be embedded into the system, like House Joint Resolution and all of those other.
Which House Joint Resolution?
The apology, well,
For Bill Clinton?
the apology that he did was supposed to be entered into the record, like how we use the House Joint Resolutions for reparations or whatever people use the resolutions for.
Well, House Joint Resolution is something that's voted on by Congress. So if he did an apology, he would have to do it through executive order. Because if it's done through a bill, it has to be House and Senate. And he don't have nothing to do with that except he can veto it.
Two different things. One, they recently were asking Obama to do the apology. So obviously, even though Bill Clinton may have done something, but then the conversation went that would make sense for quote unquote African American president to apologize to African Americans for slavery from America. Like that wouldn't make sense at all. However, secondly, if you watch the movie Woman in Gold, it's about this Austrian woman. Actually, we were supposed to do one here. I just forgot about it. I did buy the movie. It's called Woman in Gold, where Austrian woman, the leaders within the Hitler and them had come into Jewish community, had stolen all the different stuff. There was a painting that was a painting done in gold for this wife, was handed down through generation.
Oh.
During this particular time, they took the painting. The Austrian government had begun to have the painting. It went through a couple different hands, ended up with the Austrian government. They had put it into the museum. Because they recorded the picture and put it and published it in American magazines, it became into American federal territory. So they brought a federal lawsuit against the Austrian government based upon federal laws in America and got reparations for that family.
Oh,
When they did that, it automatically reminded me of you and what you're doing in Arna. Because with everything, the way it's been the last 6 months, because I actually went and saw it in the movie theater. Actually, a friend of mine from Kenya shared it with me. And he was like, this is what you guys are doing in Arna. He said, entire Arna needs to watch this because then they'll be clear as to the work that Ali Muhammad's doing. And this is somebody who's not even part of the nation.
Right.
But he recognizes what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, we need to set a date to have a viewing of that.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah. And did everybody get that movie? Because I mean, I want to make sure, even if you can watch it on stream, probably not yet. Probably not on Netflix.
I believe they just released it. I know. I saw it on not Comcast. What do I have? Verizon. I saw it on Verizon where you can watch it on Verizon. So yeah.
Yeah, that's deep. I mean, and the principles are simple. Okay. Let me move forward a little bit so we can get to these points. All right. So, so we're talking about business startup and some of the things that will obfuscate problems that you would, so we can give people different results. All right. So this is an instrumentality of honor that we use to interface. All right. So you see that Shiamru tribal go. All right. So 9-8 number. All right. So different aspects: sales tax, transfer tax. Let me go back because then I can get the concept down and then you'll see what I'm doing. All right. So what are we talking about when we talk about indigenous economics? All right. We're talking about. Remember, this country is the wealthiest country on the planet because of business investment. Literally. What ideas people come up with, their loyal registration and payment of fees to register the businesses, and then the ability to create wealth from those businesses. So it feeds money back to the representative government as funding, all right, or at least to pay the bondholders back, and it builds the wealth of individuals, okay. And so now what we're saying is we have that same template amongst ourselves that we've initiated. Very simple. Everybody in here can register a business inside of our body politic. You can multiple, trust, whatever you want to do. When I say register, what I mean is it's ours, it's controlled by us. Nobody can shut the businesses down. Nobody can do anything to the businesses except us if, we have internal disputes about them or, some type of jail society. But they're ours. All right? No one can take the products and services from it, the patents from it, whatever we produce. And we're offering this to the community as a simple, viable way to stop outside entities from leeching our resources. That's it. And so our people are so used to the other dynamic that sometimes it takes the cyclical tumbling of, dang, the IRS is after me, the local tax entity. And when you start multiplying that, the stress is going to move you to what we're talking about anyway. So you might as well get a jump on it. So these are the things that we're talking about. What issues are we dealing with? All right. Labor status as indigenous, whether it's entrepreneur or you working a job. If it's entrepreneur, we can guarantee 100% efficiency. If you're working a job, you're still working for an entity that's registered with the U.S., so we're limited in our determination, but you can seek remedy through a judicial nature, jury or judicial nature for any grievance. The only problem with that is the courts are their courts. So our promotion is to promote entrepreneurialism because that gives us 100% efficiency at implementing all these things I'm saying. But if you are working a job, there's nothing wrong with it. You can work a job on your status, and we're going to show you how you can do that. All right. Tax exemption or non-tax liability on compensation for labor. You mentioned that. That means, listen, if you make $50,000 a year and you think about how many taxes you pay, the taxes that you pay on your work, imagine bringing all that money home. $100,000 a year. All right. That means that probably $25,000 of your money are going to different entities. If you can bring that home, that's more investment for you, your wife, your children, your whole family. So we don't have to theorize about that. What we're saying is we can do that now. We're doing that now. All right? So no Jesus syndrome. No Jesus syndrome is you sit in a room with somebody doing a lecture and they say, this is what we're about to do. Because Jesus is coming. And somebody might say, well, I follow Jesus. Don't disrespect my Jesus. And all I'm saying to you is, Jesus never promised you that he was going to save you. Go back and read. Go back and read. There were if that's your faith system, you have requirements to behave based on the system. And if you behave based on that system, you will get the fruits of what that promise was. That means that everything that in life requires you to work to get the benefits of it.
Exactly.
It requires you to put effort and get the results, okay? Further non-tax liability on sales tax. The average family that's bringing in $80,000 is spending $8,000 of that dollars on sales tax annually from purchases. Imagine if you could bring all the sales tax money back home. Property taxes. Oh, the property tax was paid for the schools. Good. We need to shut the schools down. They shut them down anyway. Why are you fighting for institutions that have made you stupid? It's going to make your children stupid. We got to admit that, this stuff made us pretty, wacky. It did. I have no problem admitting that public school systems in the United States of America messed my brain up.
Right.
Why would we willingly send our children to those institutions if we have no control over those institutions and no direction in the curriculum? Now, if we had control over them, we have a way to control them and direct the institutions. Some of the charter schools are a little bit better. They have a little bit more discipline. They're better on history and identity. Good. There's some very, very good private and charter schools out here. But we have to, invest that. So property taxes, same thing. So now, if you understand the first part of this meeting, all of these things, business startup. You're using this one vehicle, or maybe multiple, if you have multiple businesses, to do all these particular things. And all you're doing when you implement each one is usually filling out an application to activate it. I want sales tax at a place. I fill out the application to give me a car. Staples, Kmart, wherever you doing business at. Well, Brother Ali, I thought we were supposed to boycott these places. Where are you going to buy stuff from? We should, have random boycotts. That's good because it shows the people that we have power to make a decision. But y'all didn't see what they did. The thing about it is, man, these folk are great chess players. You got to give them their respect. They already beat you on the boycott this year. Y'all know that, right? Y'all saw what they did? They already beat Black Friday. Y'all didn't see how they did it, right? All right, I'm going to break it down for you.
Yep.
And they see strategy. You got to respect strategy because business is about strategy. It's not about your own personal emotions. When Mr. Farrakhan first started talking about it, they started employing strategies to deal with it. And you know what they did, right? They used one holiday in China to get more revenue in one day than you would have spent on Amazon and at all the stores the whole 2-month period of Christmas and Thanksgiving. One day. It's called Singles Day. It's called Singles Day. Singles Day is, single people buying a whole bunch of products, right? So the day is called Singles Day because it's all ones. What, 11 something, whatever. It's all ones. They just had it. It was like, 2 weeks ago, something like that? 3 weeks ago? 2 or 3 weeks ago? So what they did is, anybody heard of the site Alibaba?
Yep.
Yeah.
So Alibaba is a website like Amazon. Alibaba doesn't have they don't need buildings or anything. They're just a window. And so if I have a store on my website, I can upload my whole store to Alibaba's traffic because they're getting billions of people to traffic their website. And so by uploading my whole store to it, if they have a day like Singles Day, my numbers can go up exponentially because people are going through the website and they're purchasing things. And the only thing Alibaba has to do is notice me to ship it. They get a cut of the money. My business gets a cut of the money. So on Singles Day, these companies made over $15 billion. So American companies, when they saw the people running, started uploading their sites to Alibaba and were bragging about how much money they made I got the article, I posted it on Facebook, with the expectation that sales would be down this year. Because they knew you were going to boycott. You follow me? So all I'm saying is great, but we can't employ dinosaur strategies, you see what I'm saying, in a world of computers. Like, I'll leave you there. I'm going to buy my TV on Black Friday. Yeah. Structure in place in order to still purchase, because we still have to purchase things. Question. Thank you.
Real quick statement.
Yes.
For those of you who were on the Tuesday night call where we talked about the economic piece, the strategy now to actually combat that is to take the monies you would have spent over this holiday season and now put it in investment vehicles that are going to create long-term wealth for future generation. The thing is, it's one thing to boycott and just, I'm just keeping my money, but then right after the boycott, you're going to spend it all. So you take the money, put it in the proper vehicles that's going to create that long-term success. And so future class, we will be talking about just that. So we'll know how to create a compounding effect on your monies. European people do it all the time.
Can you say what you just said again, though, brother? Because it might have just skipped people's minds. But you just said something that was... I mean, besides the fact that you said you're going to save the money
and then spend it anyway, directly. Because as soon as the boycott is over, what's going to happen? Oh, now I've got... Instead of me spending $800, now I'm going to spend $1,600 because I got an extra $800 that I boycotted with. But if you take that $800... put it in certain investment vehicles that will allow for a compounding effect for this year, for next year, and the years to come, then we create a long-term strategy. Now we can come together and say, hey, let's everybody pull together 10,000. 10 people, we have 100,000. Now let's go buy this building and create a multiplex. Because that's what the Chinese people, go to Chinatown. Remember, I don't know if you guys remember, I remember Chinatown when we first started was just that little section. Chinatown is humongous. Why don't we have an African town? Why don't we? And we don't have to call it an African town, but I mean, it could just be a town with black people. You know, you go in Chinatown, you see a billboard with 20 doctors on it. How many African American doctors do we have that actually study based upon indigenous culture? So, just to throw back.
Yeah, got you. That's important because we're talking about investment. So let me go through this list and then we can kind of get this done. So with property, tax exemption on property transfer. All right. Sometimes when you transfer a property, they try to charge you taxes on it. So we have a way to create trust so you can deal with that. Financial portfolio enhancement. That deals with establishing business credit. You can take the same now. It's important to understand, I'm telling you, this is one vehicle, one business that you can do all these things with. You can establish business credit, all right? Business credit means instead of using your social security number to interface and do business, I don't care if you're buying a car, getting phone lines for your business or whatever, use a business. So you can, the Economic Bible shows you how to literally just go to Dun & Bradstreet, call them, they give you a rep, they give you a DUNS number, right? Once you get the DUNS number and you pay your little annual fee, you can come to Arna. I can give you a whole bunch of DUNS numbers that you can load up to your profile to increase your paydex score. So now I could go to Sprint, you know what I mean, and I, got lines for all kinds of stuff for a couple dollars because I got A1 credit, on the business side. And then if you want to use trade lines, you can buy trade lines. You know what I mean? Both of those. So you can improve your personal credit score and your business credit score and use whichever one you want. If you don't feel like using your social security number for something, you can use your business. You follow me? You can do all this with one business. All right? Real estate acquisition. All right? And with the improved credit scores, you can get access to capital if you want to get a loan. Some people don't want to get it because of the interest, but if you want to get a loan, you got an 800 personal credit score and a paydex that's 890. You can go, okay, somebody is willing to invest. All right? And there's some other things there. So what I'm saying is that we can create businesses where you have access to all of those particular things. All right, go back. I'm going the wrong way. All right, so I want to close this out. Sales tax exemption. We showed some property tax exemption. All right. Business credit. All right, so that's all I had on it. So now, what are we saying? What we're saying is, what we do in ARNA is we train jurists to do these services for you. Just like the other venue trains their lawyers or, attorneys to do those things, we train people to do these same services. So now, not only are we saving the family money, right, and creating potential ability to build more wealth in the family, we're also giving labor to the people who are part of the jurisdiction to carry out the service. You see what I'm saying? So now, what does it take to operate those simple things? All it takes is training and discipline. All right, which are two things that plague us as a people in business when we're doing business. All right, black businesses collapse usually within 2 to 3 years because they don't have the mechanisms of the thing we talked about earlier, the proper idea that can cross demographics. All right, then having the continued training and the training and the infrastructure necessary to keep those businesses operating in a disciplined fashion. And so what we are saying to our people is we don't have to keep marching 1 million people, all right, to come up with innovative ideas for reparative measures. We don't even need a check. We don't need an apology from Bill Clinton to do some of the things that we need to do. We can literally just sit in a room like this, get an orientation, all right? And then if we have 1, 2, 3, 4 jurists in here, you can get with those particular people, get your business started. With next week, you have your business open. You have your bank account open. You can start changing the stuff, your property over to these particular things, and just doing these simple measures to fortify yourself. Because what you have to realize is, and this is my last point I want to make, business in this country is warfare. It's warfare. It's warfare in the sense that you have people competing for the minds, the wealth of other groups of people. Everybody's competing for people to buy from their service, product, or whatever. They're saying their product is the best. All right? And so if you're dealing in those fields, service or product oriented, you need to have the marketing strategies that are successful. And one of the things that would be a great marketing strategy is you telling people that they can save money, that they can build money, that they can protect assets. You know how many people are getting chased by the IRS and student loans and getting garnished? Imagine if you could tell them, oh yeah, I went to a class and learned about how you can set up an account and none of them can touch your money. You see what I'm saying? Something that small will be the difference between somebody catching a bus to work or having their own car. Something that small. Some people can't even, drive to work because their car got repoed because the student loan is cut their check in half. People cut their check in half. All right? So what we're saying is we study these measures and we come up with the most viable ways to implement them amongst our people. And we need to, within the next 2 generations, focus internally on structuring these things, and the demand that people look for to the supply for something. And crying buy black is not going to buy it. Please buy my black product. You have to change your mindset. You see what I'm saying? You have to change your mindset. You have to beg anybody to buy your product. They should be chasing it. Or service or whatever it is that we're doing. So the biggest thing that we have to change is our mindset. Because our mindset is somebody owes us something because of what happened to us. Let me make it clear to everybody in this room. The only person who owes you something is you.
Right.
And then if another person contracts with you, whether it's in marriage, in business, or whatever it is, all right, you still have to respect them in their individual capacity. You see what I'm saying? There's nobody owe our people nothing but us as a group. If we're going to do something as a group, we owe it to ourselves to do it because of, guess what? The mistakes that we made to put ourselves in this position. Follow me? We can't get like this, we have this self-righteous history. Oh, we was chilling in Africa and America, eating mangoes and coconuts, and then the great devil European locked us down. Niggas was arguing and fighting before white people came. White people came at the middle of the argument like, oh, wait. Let me help you out, because and they became the middleman. All right? So I'm saying we need to take some responsibility. You follow what I'm saying? Because if we stay in that mentality, none of this kind of stuff is going to make sense. Because we're going to wait on the next president, Hillary Clinton or somebody, pass something to do something to help our people or look for an apology. We can't wait on those particular things. Our position is we can do things right now. I did the business startup and the business setups just to give you a demographic how we do it. Very simple. We make articles for the business for you. We can do W-9s for you so you can learn how to interface if you're an entrepreneur. We'll issue you an EIN with the proof that it's a tax exempt or non-taxable entity from the Department of Treasury and the IRS, and then show you how to open up an account, do those things, and then you can go on and do your business. And then you have one thing sound for your family is I know how, no matter what type of business we need, a trust, a LLC, an unincorporated association, we have a resource on how to fortify our home in doing those particular things. With that kind of platform, then we can move to all of the other advanced things, that we want to talk about. Some people don't even need to nationalize first. You need to learn how to just do business first.
Exactly. Yep.
Because then if you can have the discipline to, have the etiquette to operate a business, you know how to operate as a national. You see what I'm saying? We don't have to ask you to take the rites of passage. You want to memorize a preamble or some general orders just to understand the necessity of having a group value system which we all can identify with and really understand and comprehend. Because when we read that preamble, what we're reading is our rites of passage into a group, a body politic. Why not memorize it? You see what I'm saying? Memorizing it says, you know what? It's important enough for me to take a few moments to memorize it. I'll do that. You see what I'm saying? So nationality should really be the second aspect. It is really the second aspect, but I'm promoting the business aspect today just so you can get wind of how we do those particular things and to now open up for questions. So any question that you have about business setup, business operation, the real way, the proper way to do it, how to do it, what IDs are used, what affidavits are used, whatever, you can ask that question now. And if you have other questions too, come to Marcel and
I don't know if you're going offline or whatever, but what do you do when you coming from the regular society or whatever and you're not filing taxes anymore because you're in a position where now you're exempt or you don't have a liability to the taxes, but you're buying all of these goods and services, and what do you do with the receipts to all of this stuff?
You mean if you go to a regular store, purchase and stuff, and you're tax exempt?
Yeah, like do you just throw the receipts away, or do you add that to?
Well, I mean, one is how you're making the purchases. Usually, you want to make purchases with your card so you can keep a cap. Let me rewind. First of all, the reason why you keep receipts is for your own budgeting purposes.
Yes.
Right.
That's one. So now the best way to do that is to make the purchases with whatever card that you're using, debit card or whatever, because now you're going to have automated posting of what you spent that goes to your bank account. Right. And so now usually banks have online services where you can go online, the person can go online, and you can download that information to your computer, usually in a PDF file or something. So now you're saving your time, because if not, then if you're paying cash or something, you're getting physical receipts, you're stacking up. You could do that. But usually human beings have a tendency to get messy with receipts. Right. Especially over a whole year when you're making multiple purchases a day or a week. And so my position, if I understand your question, is you make the purchases in a way that you can keep the receipts, whether you keep them hard or electronic. And you keep them so you'll know, how much money I'm spending, how much money I'm making, what areas I can cut down in, that type of thing. You wouldn't be necessarily using those to go back and do anything with the IRS, because the IRS, we have nothing to do with the IRS with those receipts. Right?
If I could.
Adam.
Okay. So I'm an accountant by trade. That's where I have my degree at, and I'm a tax accountant by trade. However, one of the things that we have an issue is that we don't realize the word economy talks about your home and how you interface financially relative to maintaining your home. So you always want to maintain your personal economy, which means having a budget. You need to know how much money you have coming in, and you need to know what your expenditures are. We did a class the other week called 7 Cures for a Lean Purse, which we talked about pay thyself first. So you should really 10% to yourself. The purpose of that is of building your future wealth That's why we're in the Bible. It says a wise man building an inheritance for his children's children. Well, what is that inheritance? We don't keep anything. There is no inheritance. Then it's taking that 10% and now employing it, that it will then create wealth on its own. So your dollar should make a dollar. But unless you know how to employ those strategies, then what we do is we throw the receipts away. We don't keep proper records of our expenditures relative to our income. So those are things we should always be doing. If that makes sense.
Because you know you hear information, so I wanted to get clarity, like, do the Treasury reimburse you for stuff? Like,
What treasury?
Oh,
You talking about United States?
Treasury.
That's relative. If you're filing taxes, there are some things, yes. It's not like a reimbursement, but there are some things that you can apply to offset the taxation. And that's why you hire someone like myself, because we have an understanding of how that applies to you. Okay? Second thing was, Chief Ali talked about, how people say buy black. My thing is, how about buy quality? How about create a circumstance where we're making quality products, and then now we're talking about supply and demand? Because if my product has a high level of quality, then automatically there's going to be a demand. Or if you're in a situation like Patti LaBelle, everybody buying a Patti pie. It's because of who she is.
Right.
So unless you have that dynamic going on, then what you need to do is make sure the quality is there, so then the demand is even that much higher.
Well, there was something that I don't know if he was insinuating this, but I will address it. There were procedures that people were advancing that, you can save all your receipts and you can send them into the IRS with certain accompanying forms, and you can get all your money back, paid in checks. First thing is, any of us who are studying this information need to be very careful about different processes that people tell us about.
That's right.
Okay, we need to investigate those processes because they can get you in a problem.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you don't want to create those kind of scenarios where you have the attorney general or the feds investigating you for doing some unlawful process. And we have examples of people who had those situations and it didn't turn out good for them. And so I'm not saying that you were mentioning that, but I heard the receipt.
My question was along that line though, because you hear people teaching like save your receipts because you can get reimbursed back and stuff like that. So I'd rather ask before I try to employ something and mess myself out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm giving you this fair warning. Be careful of those folks. Peace, Sister Lisa. How are you?
Peace, guys. Let me just add on to the IRS and the receipts. And to introduce myself, my name is Lisa L. And I'm a student of the first ISIS Honor Law Masters class. And I am currently one of the nationals that I am conducting myself in commerce as an ISIS Honor national to the fullest extent, from nationalization to banking and finance and commerce, insurance, tax exemption, sitting in congressional hearings for securitizations and mortgage fraud, coming up against the business corporate counties and Dun and Bradstreet. So everything that Chief Ali has laid out for us is the actual pinnacle. It's already laid out. We know our interest date. We know our termination date. It's up to us to what we do with that dash in the middle. The brother has laid it out for us. I've taken my steps to be successful. It hasn't been easy. You have to know what you're doing when you get in this. And as far as the IRS and the receipts, the only thing that I've learned being in it for myself and being assistant or second national to others who got heavily involved. If you're tax exempt and if we have the processes and the procedures to prove our exemption, then you don't need to entertain the IRS, because the only thing the receipts are going to get you is trouble. They're going to use your receipts that you're saving for your personal purposes. They're going to use those receipts against you. And I'm saying this for heed and forewarning. with those receipts, they use it against you, and they give you 72 months, 60 months in the federal college campus. I know I've been privy, but still, that doesn't stop us, because what we have is true and valuable. But again, you have to know what you're doing. You have to do your own homework. You have to do your own research, because at the end of the day, it's your energy that gets you the remedy. Because I mean, that's it. That's all. It's a beast out here. It's a beast, and it's good to see everybody here today, and it's good to be seen.
Yes.
Because it ain't been easy.
Yes.
But
It's
we're
war.
we're winning. Period. End of statement. And I mean, things are happening. Powerful people, powerful places are exploding to where we aren't going to be in position to do what everybody got to do what they have to do for themselves. You and I together. Yes, those acronyms spell unity. You got to do your part, I got to do my part, and together we going to get it done. But until you do yours and I do mine, we ain't doing nothing. Don't worry about what I'm doing. You do you.
Right.
You pay your dues. You pay your respects to that person in the mirror. You clean around you stand on your square. Otherwise, we ain't going nowhere. I've been with Chief Ali since October of '09. We've seen a lot of things. I know I have, alone and together. And today, I made a conscious decision. I'm coming up this road because I am a national. And I want to see us through. Do or die. Today is it for me. I'm doing it anyhow. With this brother. Oh,
yes. Salute.
around the globe.
Salute.
Around the globe.
Thank you, sister. We love you.
Hey.
Yes. Oh.
And having said that, one of my concerns is that when you're moving from one paradigm to another, all your life you've lived a certain way. You've been conditioned, whether it's conscious or unconscious, and so sometimes we have to be not only debriefed, we have to clear out all that stuff and relearn, but we need clear directions as to how we can make the transition from one into full life transition. And that's always been an issue with me, because all that stuff we used to. Sometimes it interferes. You're talking about cognitive dissonance. Sometimes it interferes with your ability to function in making the transition from this type of the old business model that we were under, personal Social Security numbers and paying taxes, to coming to this type of paradigm and functioning under it. It's really important that we get clear direction so that we don't make costly mistakes and losing out. I remember again, when I first started on this road in '95, people were teaching, you should you should get rid of all your contracts, get rid of all the adhesions, your birth certificate, your driver's license, you should do this and do that. And my thought was, how are you going to get rid of this stuff if you don't have nothing to replace it? So if you get rid of everything, you're going to be up, excuse the land, shit's creek, okay, because you have no way of functioning. So my thing is that just make sure that in our teaching that we give people, make it clear how they can make the transition and function and do it properly. That's this issue I was in.
Yes, sir.
I was curious, how does applying for EIN affect your property taxes?
Applying for one doesn't affect your property taxes at all. What can change the status of your property taxes is after you create the entity. There's a local office here. Every county has a revenue office. And if you wanted to apply for the exemption, you have to show that you have the proper type of entity, a tax exempt entity.
Right.
And so you fill out the application, you'll put, the basic.
What kind of ideas there's a tax exempt entity?
Say it again?
Like a church?
It could be labeled as a church, but these aren't churches that I'm mentioning. We can create ecclesiastical.
Give me some ideas. A couple of things.
It could be anything. It could be a cultural organization. Like, it could be, when you come to me and you say, I want to do the property tax exemption, You say, well, I also have a business where I do construction. I'm not going to use the construction business to do the property tax exemption.
Right.
I will create a cultural, a educational, a civic, a religious entity, one of those types. Give it an EIN, give it some business articles and some additional documents, and then that will be the entity that you would use to change your property over from your individual name to your business.
Okay.
And so in doing that, you would have all those documents. You would go fill out the application. Once you present it to them, they usually do what's called a drive-by or sometimes an inspection in Philadelphia County. All the counties, they don't do that. And the inspection is to ensure that at least one day or sometime out of the week, you're using the facility for that educational, that civic, that cultural, that thing, whatever it may be. And to prove that, I don't know, you can have some chairs in there and a sign. That's not really regulated like that, like they're trying to prove that you do something. And the idea behind the not paying the taxes on the property is because you are using the home for that purpose, and sometime during the week, now you are eligible for it.
Okay.
And it only requires you to fill out the application. And it's an annual application in most of the counties and states that I know of. Which means that once you do it this year, they have your record, but you have to go down and make sure you update your information, and then they'll cyclically, make sure you know that. And so all of that, what I just said, I wouldn't require you to do anything but to call us. We fill out application for you, of course,
Right.
and then we would carry out the service for you and walk you through the whole thing.
All right.
Other questions, statements before we get out of here? Anybody? Yes.
For student loans, do I have to set up a consultation with one of the judge doctors, or
Yeah, you have to.
who would I call?
You can call me directly. I can interview. You have my number. If not, you can get it right after. I don't think there's anybody in here who's doing them right now. But student loans are dischargeable if you are using either. It's two basic processes that have worked, and that is basic challenging for the instrument itself to make sure that the person who is the holder is the one who's executing the debt. If they're not, it's an easy way to get out of it from off the credit report. And then the second way is through doing a Chapter 7 no asset, and in that you have to show, you have to basically show that the debts that you have accumulated are higher than the amount that you're able to, that the amount that you're accumulating inside of your so-called revenues or compensation, and then filling out the affidavits properly to do that. Those are only two ways that I know how to do it, because usually they want to keep you, paying those student loans. And it's not really student loans. That's just a word of propaganda. Because they make it seem like student loans because they're backed by the federal government. And these are private entities carrying out a whole bunch of processes that some of which are illegal. Any other questions about business setup, nationality? Any questions about anything before we get out of here today? Any questions?
What's the beginning of Ramadan?
We start Ramadan on November the 30th. I made the calculations today. Matter of fact, I was just making sure because there's a way that we calculate it. So November 30th is the first day, and we're gonna do what is the 30th? Because we usually start off with a dinner that we do. The 30th is on a Monday, so maybe on next week. We can come in and we can have like a little. If y'all come in class, we'll prepare some food and kind of get ready for it. The indigenous Ramadan is us doing the Ramadan according to the real calculations, right? So it's a period of fasting, 30 days, where you eat your first meal at sunset. The idea is to improve your health, all right? Get the body hydrated, get a lot of waste out of your physical body as well as your spiritual body, all right? To look at the things that have happened in the last year and to kind of retune yourself for the next year. So we use that fasting period, for those who may be interested, as a tool to kind of revamp, because we the solstice is coming, which we call the night of power or whatever, and at the spiritual nature of the solstice is it is the longest night of the year, and the positioning of the planet also gives that night the highest levels of energy, and it's also kind of closing out the seasons. So the idea is to close your year out, to reflect upon what you've done this year, good, bad, ugly, and then to get yourself in a position, to get through that solstice and to have a new so-called new year. That's what New Year. So, it's a retuning, and so we're going to do that fast for 30 days. We usually tell people, if you are practicing eating flesh, to reduce or stop it during that 30-day period. All right? Increase your fruit and vegetable intake. Increase the home preparation of meals instead of eating out. All right? And to use that time for meditation, prayer, reflection, family, giving to people who are less fortunate. We got some programs that we want slated for like mid-December to help the homeless and do some stuff. So, yeah, it's just a time for us to get ready. So we use that period. That's something that a period that our ancestors used for their retunement of themselves. And it's historically popular amongst the Moorish civilization, Islamic civilizations in Africa to practice that period of fasting. It's just been historic also that we've been following foreigners in the interpretation of our ancestors' information. So our job was to look at the astronomy and the history of it to get it accurate and to practice it at the accurate time when the accurate energies are present. And the most important thing is when you fast, you are abstaining from something that's natural to you. Food is natural. So abstaining from things that are natural to you makes it easier to abstain from things that are unnatural to you. And the unnatural things are how we mistreat each other, how all of the stuff that the garbage that colonization puts on us. So Ramadan is our time period to kind of get rid of that stuff and fulfill ourselves with other things. And so the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us to practice it during that time period. And although he didn't necessarily tell us it was aligned astronomically, it's just by, and we can do it next week. We can show you that the time period that he prescribed for us to do it is exact based on the science of astronomy. So that's unique in the sense that we had teachers that brilliant who put stuff in baby language for us. You know what I mean? But sometimes when it's your own, it's not good enough. You got to believe that the other folk know better. And what we saying is ours know better. That's all we're saying. So anybody who wants to participate in that, who needs guidance on that, we'll have literature to help you, get through the fasting. We'll be doing the fasting. If you need coaches, if you can't make it some days, you can call us like, it's all right, brother. We'll help you out. We'll bring you a bowl of something to keep you right.
Yeah, brother. I just want to ask how you do it differently from the Sunni practice, because I always have problems with it. I practice, Ramadan and fasting. And what didn't make sense to me is how you go the whole day, you don't eat, and then at the end of the day, they gorge. You just eat too much,
And they get up in the morning for sahur and gorge, and they don't drink no water during the day.
Right. So the problem I always have is that you need water, and you need, to cleanse yourself, you need fiber. But they're saying you don't do none of that, and that didn't scientifically make any sense to me. So I didn't agree with it. So I think, how do you do it differently in terms of hydrating yourself and make sure that when you're fasting, your body is properly cleansing itself by what you're doing?
Yeah, we drink water during the day. Literally, we drink water,
That's what I
and
thought.
because of the season, the time that we will be eating, which would be around like late 4 o'clock, 5, is a good time between 4 and 6 to eat that one meal. Some people can't eat one meal a day because of health challenges. So our recommendations are that for people who are having those challenges, that they have one meal during the regular day, a light meal, to help them replenish themselves, salads and fruits, and then at sunset they eat another meal. And the Quran is clear, especially upon proper translation, that those who are sick and on the journey are not exempt from the fast, and to do your best. You see what I'm saying? So, we prescribe methods to help people with those things. And I usually make a menu. So I'll make sure I have that menu and I'll give it out to people, food lists, things you can buy. And we'll talk about it because we'll be in it before it goes down. It'll be that next day.
One of the other things, and we talked about this, was coconut water. Just
Exactly.
having the
Water, coconut water.
Drinking the coconut water.
Complete hydration.
Yes. And the other aspect that I've been doing preparatory, from a preparation standpoint, the brother has the bitters.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, in class, that's what I was going to go over today, is digestion.
Right.
And one of the things is to begin to utilize the bitters now. Because what that's going to do is help your elimination system prepare for the fast. When we do fast, you're not supposed to go into a fast like that. Like they say, proper prior preparation prevents poor performance. You want to reduce your sugar cravings.
Right.
That's why we have the bitters. You want to reduce your hunger. That's why you have the bitters. You want to increase your desire for hydration, the bitters. A lot of those things that brain function, the bitters. Getting rid of issues within the liver, the bitters. So the bitters are something that you utilize to actually prepare your body for the next transition. So that's one of the other things.
That's key. I'm so glad that you said that, brother, because that is key. That in this week coming, before we start the fast, that we work to gradually get our bodies ready, because you don't want to go into shock. So thank you for that, brother. That was
right here.
What do you mean by bitters?
Black seed bitters.
These are
Bitters are herbs.
Black seed bitters.
Bitters are herbs.
Oh, like bitter herbs, or
Well, the bitter herbs are the ones that help detox the body. Best. So he's using a common
This
term
right
that
here,
they use.
extremely good. What I did was I took the moringa bitters, I took the black seed bitters, and I took the Swedish bitters. I mixed them together and take all three. They are not good tasting, but you will notice your digestion. You'll notice elimination. Your elimination will be better. It'll be more frequent, and you'll notice your mental clarity will be there. It does a lot for the body, and it helps you once again for that preparation for the fast.
How do you use the bitters you just?
You just take it's like 2 tablespoons, like 3 times a day. I take it straight. You can take it in water. You can add it to juice. I just take it straight. I just do it. I take a shot glass and just do a shot.
We're trying to remind yourself of what you used to do. All right, so we want to end in prayer. That's our standard practice. If you're not going to pray, you can just stand quietly. But we want to give reverence to our Creator and our ancestors for giving us this opportunity. And thank all of you for coming out and send you to your destinations on the right frequency. And it's not policy for all of us to close our eyes, so whoever's in the back, you on post. Because we can't see.
Don't worry.
There you go. I'll say it first in the traditional language and then translate it. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Amen. In the name of our Creator, the Master of Spiritual Insight, the Perceiver of all truth, all praise belongs to the Nourisher, Sustainer, and Creator of all life, the Master of Spiritual Insight, the Perceiver of all truth, Master of all judgment. You alone do we seek for aid and assistance. Guide us on the correct path, the path upon whom divine power is bestowed, not the path upon whom wrath is brought down, nor of those who are misguided. Peace. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for coming out. We love you. We will be back here next week, same time, to give some information on the beginning of the Ramadan and give some pointers on it. We love you. Thank you for coming out today.
We love you too.
Yeah. Yes, sir. What is it? Depends on what type you're going to get. Generally, I send an intake form, and then you fill out what areas you want to talk about. Like you can fill out relationships, finances, health, any of the areas. I have like 7 or 8 areas. So I can email you a form email you forms.
Peace.
You
Before
can check
everybody
off
goes,
which one
don't want to
you
forget
want
the
to,
donation.
you want to
You
do.
have a donation.
Because what I usually do is I take the birth information, I take the areas, and I do a pre-screening of looking at the chart. And so I have already accumulated information in the beginning of the building, and then I'm going to accumulate more time to go further into it. I might put you, what's your name? I might put your name
I got you checking for my checkbook.
Wait a minute.
That's what I thought, bro. Yeah. When you left, I got him in the door. Oh, he get it down. Boy, I listen to that.
Yeah. Elsa, yeah, Elsa.
Yeah, definitely. I like the other thing. It's not what it is.
Well, no, the 10 weeks is 2 phases, and then what happens after that is we in phase 2 you're learning implementation. We have like a full period after that, so you get like hands-on experience. And you nationalize somebody, learn how to stand up. No, totally. Yeah. The next one starts January 4th. No, you got to fill out an application. I would either bring an intake into class, or when you make the payment, it comes as an automatic download.
I see.
I'm assuming you might want
I speak. Just want to go. I told him about you. I can explain it. He said, you don't tell us about it. I said, peace, but I don't want to see it. I told Richard. Richard said, I know Richard. Oh, yeah, I know that brother. That brother. He told me, he said, I told him he was standing there. He told me, get them before that. He said, I got respect for that. That man told me, like a man. He's going to do him what he ain't going to do. Yeah, I talked to him once, but I ain't want to know. I just let him alone, you know. So I left him alone. He's still around.
Peace to the God. Peace to the God. Salute.
You know what y'all doing?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm trying to stay in. Yes, sir.
What's the address they
Yeah, and that's why I mentioned it.
Right.
Nah, I already did it.